Whereas when America attacked Iran, Donald Trump had no options than to attack Iran, because the entire framework of his campaign was funded by international Zionism. In fact, the success stories of Republic in the last American elections was built on the support and the funding of Israel lobbyists and Israel funding in America. So since Netanyahu in particular and his government in general intended to go into Iran, whether America was ready, willing, and able or not, it must go the Netanyahu way. So those who don't understand the dynamics of Middle East politics as it affects the interest of the Western capitalism will think that what Trump was saying makes sense. To us, it doesn't make sense. We knew Trump has no right to say yes or no. The cards are being played from Tel Aviv, not from Washington. Okay. In fact, even the national security advisor of Trump told Trump and American government that there is no iota of evidence. Grozny, the leader of IAEA, equally says so.
There hasn't been
that there has never been any evidence substantially to suggest that Iran is moving towards nuclear armament.
So in other words, the attack is unprovoked.
It is. There is no justification. It is, look, we should be able to sit down and now identify the cogent reasons why. But the reasons are there. If you read a lot of, look, if you read John Hadji's book, Countdown Jerusalem. If you read Tell Me No Lies, it was written by a journalist like you about the Gulf War, Iraq, America. And if you read Legacy of Ashes, the 50 wars CIA masterminded across the world. It is, look, the pointers is that the only person standing now against Western civilization, and even if you read Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilization, Iran is standing firm. The Western world civilization is shaky. The best way to guarantee that civilization is to destroy the over 3,000 the Persian civilization, and that's what they are doing today. So, but they will never succeed.
Okay, we'll get to that. I understand, Professor. And Professor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Right. I'm sure you are following the development very closely in the Middle East, and with the level of escalation we are witnessing today. What do you make up with today's happenings? We've seen quite a number. Iran, has strike U.S. military base in Qatar. Earlier in the day, delegation of Iran were in Moscow. Had talks, behind those closed doors with, and quite a number of other activities are taking place. For instance, the European countries are also meeting in Brussels. Again, the NATO is also scheduled to meet. Quite a number of activities triggered by this conflict in Iran, by Iran. Pick up with the recent development.
Well, just like what my brother Professor Sadiq said, there is this particular vision which is called Greater Israel. Greater Israel is to actually expand geographically the tentacles of the Zionist regime. History always repeats itself. If you go back into the abyss, you go back to former Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was once at a time a mighty entity in Europe. But when Tito wanted to develop and advance the so-called Greater Serbia project, the miniature entities of former Yugoslavia began to actually secede and declare independence. What Tito wanted to do was actually to dominate all other ethnic nationalities in Yugoslavia to ensure and guarantee the over-dominance of the Serbs in that particular region. So if you come back to Israel, Israel has been assured, guaranteed by the United States of America to carry out this particular mission of Greater Israel, to conquer and annex all those countries and territories in the Levant, as well as in the Middle East. And that is why when an Israeli minister was being interviewed with Iran, next is actually Turkey. So in this particular process, Iran knew clearly that it is under a great threat And one most annoying thing is that Israel occupies a land which does not belong to the state of Israel. The only thing it actually relies on is perpetual expansion and annexation, especially of the Palestinian land. And Iran has been so sympathetic to the people of Palestine who have been under perpetual subjugation, and they have been continuously terrorized by the state of Israel. So in this particular process, Iran has been aiding Palestine in their cause to freedom and also do away with apartheid, Israeli devilish domination, as well as occupation of their land. So in this, trying to fortify itself, which will guarantee its existence. And you should know that Iran has also been, reiterating that Israel is not supposed to exist.
Doctor, it's good to see you again.
Thank you
so much for stopping by tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me to your program.
Right. A lot has been said recently about, what's been making the rounds. 2027 has been dominating the conversation since the beginning of the year. You have recently given your take on what's happening on both sides, on the side of the opposition, with the coalition talks, as well as the performance of the Tinubu administration and what Nigerians are making of it. What, in your view, is the best way for Nigerians to, make sense of all the commentary and the narratives that have been peddled right now? Because it seems like everybody's trying to sell Nigerians something. The APC is trying to sell something to Nigerians to win the next election. The coalition is also trying to sell Nigerians something. What do you think is the best way to decipher what is actually substantial about all of the conversations so far?
I think your question places the people in the center, not the government and the opposition. What should Nigerians think about? I think Nigerians should be very wary. We've come through some very, very difficult 2 years under the, I'm sure even the president himself must know just how tough it has been. Last week, I watched him when he was in Makurdi, and he said to the governor, "They hate me too, like hell," which is a good thing. I think the president knows that Nigerians, I don't know who is the they he was referring to, but I'll be generous enough to think that I think he's referring to all Nigerians. So it's been tough. It will almost certainly get tougher for Nigerians. And this is the time to be very, very cautious about making choices. The administration has close to 2 years to go. We shouldn't even be talking about politics and the next elections. We should be focusing, for the administration, we should be focusing on managing policies that haven't exactly worked out the way you wanted it. We should be looking at remedial measures. We should be talking about what to do about insecurity, because clearly, something is fundamentally wrong. We have money on security, and we're losing the traditional threats to our security. New issues are coming up. New communities are coming under the threats of security. We need to do something about the poverty and poor. Something is wrong, either with the policy or with its management. Something is wrong. And finally, suddenly you see this stampede. I genuinely think that the APC was stampeded into action and endorsing the president, endorsing governors, endorsing legislators. There's a real work to do. Why are you endorsing yourself? Who are you impressing? When you meet in Sokoto and you say, the president has done so well, we all endorse him. Then you go to Gombe and you cause bigger problem. You say to all Nigeria has done fantastic. We endorse him, we endorse the governors, we endorse everybody. And then you end up with a fiasco in your hand. Nigerians should be, we are very resilient people, but to be honest, life is tough. Don't let us make a mistake in 2027. It induces us, whether it's our poverty, whether it's faith that was substantially influential in 2023, whether Northern or in Northern. Let's put aside those issues. focus on looking for credible leaders as possible, not where they come from, not what God they worship, and not simply because they give you macaroni and 2,000. Politicians would think we are for sale. At every election they call us. That's what democracy means to them. Nigerians are just voters. Our democracy is not for the people, it's for them. So just don't worry about them. Every 4 years they will come and we will find a way. Either we tell them, you're Muslim, you must vote a Muslim, or you're a Southerner, you must vote for a Southerner, or you're a Northerner, you must vote. We are that cheap in the eyes of politicians. We should avoid that. If he's a Northerner, if he's a Southerner, it should not.
Right. Recently, I mean, in one of your appearances, talked about how you're non-aligned, so to speak. You're not with, suppose leaving the government means that you're not with the APC either, right? But for most Nigerians, we have a simultaneous political equation right now. There are only two sides, the coalition on one side and the APC on the other side. Anything in between is passive, is not a part of the solution. For the most part, that is what many Nigerians think the solutions are. It's either you're on one side or the other. There is no fence to sit on. So it's fair to ask, why are you on the fence about this one?
I'm not on the fence at all. I am positively on the side of major change, real change, substantial change.
Well, that's what the government is selling.
No. I'm not too sure anybody is selling anything. They are busy scheming for the government to come back in 2027 and run Nigeria. They're not selling anything. What if I ask you now, if you can recall just offhand, how many things have the leaders of the coalition, how many things have they said they would do that you read in the papers or you're a media person? Specifically, what did they say they would do? Nothing. What are they selling to Nigerians? Are you saying, if you vote for our coalition, assuming they get over all the technicalities of sorting out whether they go into a new party, what are they selling? That we can create a safer Nigeria within 1 year? That we can make sure, stand still, that Nigerians will be safe and secure in their homes? They're not talking about that. They're talking about trying to some kind of a political platform that will give them power.
Yeah, but don't we already know what their ideas are about fixing the problem?
No, we don't. Let me share yours.
I mean,
what do you think?
Yeah.
What did they say they would do?
I mean, what his message was in you could go back to 2007, but the most recent